What would you do if moving into your dream home turned into your worst nightmare? I'm about to tell you how my girlfriend and I discovered that sometimes the real monsters don't hide in closets or under beds. They live right next door and watch you through your windows. This isn't some made up story. This is happening to us right now as I record this video. What started as strange neighbors turned into masked predators with crowbars, stolen security footage, and a campaign of terror that has left us prisoners in our own home. 3 months ago, my girlfriend and I thought we'd found paradise. We're both 20 years old, and this house was everything we dreamed of. Our first real home together with our rescued cat, Bella. It was perfect and beautiful, exactly what we'd saved for. But paradise turned into hell faster than we ever imagined. The first warning sign was the abandoned house right next to ours. The owner had started fixing it up, but never finished, leaving it half empty like a broken tooth. What made everything worse was that there was no fence between our backyards, because the previous owner had torn down the old one to put up a new fence, but never finished the job. This meant our yards were completely open to each other, with no protection at all. Behind the abandoned house lived several young men who used the empty property like their personal shortcut, walking through whenever they wanted to reach the street. We thought they had permission, but we were wrong about everything. We had no idea we were watching predators scout their hunting ground. Our first night should have been magical, but it became the beginning of our nightmare. We were sitting in our backyard, enjoying the evening and planning our future, when we looked up and saw something that made our blood freeze. A man stood completely still in an upstairs window, staring down at us like a predator studying its prey. His face showed no emotion, just empty eyes boring into us, while the room behind him stayed pitch black. He wasn't trying to hide. He wanted us to know we were being watched, studied, memorized for some future plan we couldn't imagine. After 30 minutes of that cold, emotionless stare, we ran inside like scared children. For the next few days, we tried to tell ourselves it was nothing. But when we went into our garden again, our world changed forever. It was dark, and we were looking at the stars when we heard the wooden fence being moved on purpose. 3 men appeared out of the shadows, like demons, standing in our backyard without any invitation. "Are you okay?" I asked, my voice shaking even though I tried to sound confident. The youngest one, around 29 with dead eyes, held a bag that could have contained anything: weapons, drugs, tools for breaking into houses. He offered us stolen soap like he was doing us a favor, smiling with cold eyes that seemed to be measuring our fear. When we said no, he just said, "Okay," like someone who had already decided what would happen to us. What scared us most was how they walked into our yard like they owned it. They left silently, but we knew this was just the beginning of something much worse. These men started treating our backyard like their playground, coming in whenever they wanted with increasing boldness. As two young women living alone, we knew this was predatory behavior. They were testing us, seeing how far they could push before we completely broke. They would lift the fence and walk through like they were accessing their own home. Then police showed up one day, searching the abandoned property like they were following evidence. A few days later, we learned that our tormentors had been kicked out for causing trouble throughout the neighborhood. For one moment, we thought our nightmare was over. We were completely wrong. The real horror started with a loud bang that shattered our sense of safety. While I was taking a bath, a sound like someone attacking our house sent me running to find my girlfriend recording from our bedroom window. She was capturing something that would haunt us forever. A stranger we'd never seen had pointed directly at our bedroom window, like someone who had been watching and planning. When my girlfriend noticed him, he ran toward our house with terrifying speed and tried our front door handle, testing if he could just walk in and do whatever he came to do. When the door wouldn't open, he ran back and started beating on the abandoned house windows like a crazy person. The night terrors began at 2:16 a.m. with the sound every woman fears, the predatory whistle that men use to intimidate women. It cut through our bedroom walls like a knife, followed by tapping on our windows that announced his presence. Our security cameras mysteriously didn't record anything that night, like the darkness was protecting him. We spent the night awake and shaking, holding each other while listening for footsteps that felt inevitable. The next day, we ran to my mother's house, too scared to stay in our own home. But when we came back, we discovered how much power he had over us. Our Ring doorbell had been carefully removed and placed on the ground, its memory card stolen like a trophy. Someone had come back while we were gone, destroying our ability to record his crimes and making us even more vulnerable. Police warned us that messing with security equipment often means the person is planning to escalate to physical violence. For weeks, the psychological torture continued with scientific precision designed to break our minds. Whistling in the middle of the night that turned our dreams into nightmares. Banging on our walls that sounded like someone trying to break through. Attempts to get into the abandoned house, suggesting he was planning to use it as a base to attack us. Each incident was designed to steal our sleep, our sanity, and our right to feel safe in our own home. We made report after report to police, but it meant nothing to a system that waits for violence instead of preventing it. Then came the night that broke something inside us forever. We were checking our camera when we saw him standing in our front yard like a demon made real. He wore a black mask that turned his face into pure evil, his hood up to complete his transformation into the monster he'd always been inside. His arms were spread wide like a twisted crucifixion, head tilted unnaturally while staring up at our bedroom window like a predator who had cornered his prey. The image of that masked figure standing like death itself in our yard will haunt me forever. He spoke words we couldn't hear, but his body language said everything. You belong to me now, and I'll take you when I'm ready. Then he walked across the street slowly and stood motionless for 30 minutes, watching our house like a sniper choosing his shot. When we called police, they dismissed our terror, saying staring at property isn't illegal while ignoring how ritualistic and threatening his behavior was. Sleep became impossible. Every sound outside triggered panic attacks that left us gasping like trauma victims. Then, at 2:52 a.m., our worst fears came true through our security camera. Two masked figures approached our house with flashlights, moving like soldiers executing a planned attack. One carried what looked like a crowbar, the tool of home invaders and killers. They moved around our house like hunters tracking wounded animals, shining lights into our windows and searching for us methodically. They had turned our home into a hunting ground where we were just prey, waiting to be caught. The message was clear. We know you're in there. We can see you. And next time, we might come inside and finish what we started. Now he appears across from our house daily, like a demon summoned by our fear. He points at our windows, waves mockingly, or stands motionless for hours, reminding us that we're never truly safe. Every appearance is timed to cause maximum psychological damage when we're eating, trying to relax, or desperately seeking sleep that never comes. This morning, he stood outside for over an hour, his blank stare promising violence that chilled our blood. We recorded every second, knowing it won't matter because he's playing a game where he holds all the cards, and we're just victims waiting for him to decide when the final act begins. What would you do if the perfect rental house came with invisible roommates who didn't want you there? I'm about to tell you how my girlfriend Sarah and I discovered that some houses don't just have histories, they have appetites, and we were about to become their next meal. This isn't some fictional ghost story. This happened to us 6 months ago in what seemed like the perfect rental property. What started as strange noises turned into objects flying across rooms, doors slamming on their own, and shadow figures that hunted us through every room. My name is Jake, and my girlfriend Sarah and I had been searching for the perfect rental house for months. We're both 23 and finally ready to move in together. When we found this beautiful Victorian house on Elm Street, it felt like winning the lottery. The rent was surprisingly affordable, and the landlord, Mr. Henderson, seemed eager to get us moved in quickly. This house has been in my family for generations, he told us, his eyes never quite meeting ours. It just needs people who will appreciate its unique character. The house was stunning. High ceilings, original hardwood floors, and huge windows. There were scratches on some walls that looked newer than the house, but we figured previous tenants had pets. Mr. Henderson wanted us to sign immediately, offering the first month rent-free if we moved in that weekend. We signed right away, thinking we'd found our dream home. Moving day started perfect until we began bringing boxes inside. "Jake, did you hear that?" Sarah asked, stopping in the living room with a box of kitchen supplies. I heard nothing except our friends outside, but Sarah kept pausing and looking around like she was listening for something. Once everyone left and we were alone, the house felt completely different. The cheerful atmosphere disappeared, replaced by something heavy and oppressive. "Is it just me, or does it feel really cold in here?" Sarah asked, wrapping herself in a sweater, even though it was warm outside. I checked the thermostat, but it was set normally. That first night, we ordered pizza and sat on the floor planning where furniture would go. It should have been romantic, but something about the house made us both uneasy. As darkness fell, the house came alive with sounds, creaking floorboards above us, even though we were the only ones there, doors closing by themselves, and persistent tapping from inside the walls. Our second night was when real horror began. Sarah and I were in our bedroom when we heard footsteps in the hallway. Slow, deliberate steps that weren't coming from either of us. "Jake, someone's in the house," Sarah whispered, gripping my arm. I grabbed a baseball bat and opened our door. The hallway was empty and dark, but the air felt electric. As I stepped out, every door in the hallway slammed shut simultaneously with tremendous force that shook the house. Sarah screamed, and I ran back to find our bedroom door had also slammed shut, trapping us outside. The door was locked from the inside, which made no sense because old bedroom doors don't have locks. We pounded and called out, but only heard furniture being moved inside our room. After 10 terrifying minutes, all doors suddenly opened by themselves. We cautiously entered our bedroom to find everything exactly as we'd left it. The next few days brought escalating supernatural activity. Objects moved by themselves, kitchen utensils rearranging in drawers, books falling off shelves, picture frames turning face down. The temperature would drop dramatically without warning, and we started seeing our breath indoors. The worst part was the presence we felt watching us constantly. It started as an uncomfortable feeling, like someone staring from behind, but grew stronger each day. Sarah had nightmares about dark figures at our bedside, and I'd wake feeling like invisible hands had touched me while I slept. Then the shadow people appeared. At first, just dark shapes in our peripheral vision that vanished when we looked directly, but they became bolder and more solid each day. Sarah saw one in our bathroom mirror while brushing her teeth, and I encountered one blocking the stairway during a midnight snack run. The entities communicated through whispers from inside the walls. We couldn't understand the words, but the tone was hostile and urgent, like they were planning something terrible. Objects began flying through the air with violent force. Dishes, books, even heavy furniture, all aimed directly at us with obvious intent to harm. "We need to get out of here," Sarah said, after a lamp crashed inches from her head. But when we tried to leave, the house wouldn't let us go. Doors slammed shut before we could reach them. Our car keys disappeared and reappeared in impossible places, and our phones lost signal whenever we tried calling for help. The final night was pure hell. Sarah and I barricaded ourselves in our bedroom, but the supernatural assault intensified beyond human comprehension. The walls seemed to breathe and pulse like living tissue. Windows rattled violently. Temperature swung from freezing to burning hot within seconds. Shadow figures multiplied until they filled every corner, their hollow eyes glowing with malevolent hunger. They reached toward us with hands of living darkness, while whispers became screams of rage from everywhere at once. Sarah and I held each other in the center of the bed, surrounded by entities wanting to drag us to hell. "They're not just trying to scare us," Sarah gasped, pale with terror. "They want to keep us here forever." I realized she was right. This wasn't just haunting. It was a trap to claim new victims. The house fed on human fear and suffering, and we'd walked right into its web. Objects flew in a supernatural tornado while shadow figures closed in. Whispers became a deafening chorus of voices in languages predating human civilization. Just when I thought we'd be consumed, Sarah grabbed my hand and screamed, "We're leaving now." Together, we ran through the wall of shadow figures toward our door. They tried stopping us with claws that felt like ice, but desperation gave us strength. We burst through the bedroom door and ran downstairs, chased by every supernatural entity in the house. The front door was locked, but I kicked it open with adrenaline-fueled strength, while Sarah grabbed our mysteriously reappeared car keys. We ran to our car as the house erupted in supernatural chaos, flashing lights, exploding windows, and unearthly sounds that haunt our nightmares forever. We drove straight to a motel and didn't stop shaking until sunrise. The next day, we called Mr. Henderson about breaking our lease. His response chilled us. "I understand completely. The house has trouble keeping tenants. Most don't last more than a week." When we demanded to know why he didn't warn us, he said, "Would you have believed me if I'd told you the house was actively haunted?" We researched the house's history and discovered 17 different families had lived there in 5 years, none staying longer than 2 months. The house is still being rented to new victims, and we know it's only a matter of time before it claims someone who can't escape like we did.